Hello and welcome to Art with me, Katie Cordy. Today I shall show you how to draw one of the largest pterosaurs, the Quetzalcoatlus. Please be understanding as I butchered its name multiple times. It's hard to keep track of so many syllables. I use Sharpie and crayons to create my colorful flying reptile, but you can use whatever medium you prefer. So my first step for drawing a Quetzalcoatlus is that I am going to start with his head. And for his head, he has a very long head. So I'm going to start with a straight line before going into a triangle. I'm going to have my guy have his mouth open. But if you were having his mouth closed, then you would simply draw another triangle line. Instead, I'm just going to create a second V-like shape. Okay, maybe he's getting ready to catch fish. Then I'm going to start his head. Now that I have his mouth, his beak-like mouth. And I'm just going to round the top of it before adding in his tiny little eyeball. He does not have much of an eyeball. And then for he has a fin that's slightly rectangular shaped on the top of his head. And then his nostril is weird and fairly low down. My next step is going to be his long neck, which can be bent in any direction that you want. Once we have his neck, then we're going to do his wings. And for his wings, which are going to go slightly off the paper for me, okay, I'm going to do one wing on this side. I think I'll half fold it to give you an idea of what it would look like. Well, this one I'll do extended. So for instance, if I was going to fold his wing, I'm going to start with his wing arm, which is going to be split into 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3, and at the end of the third, their arm bends differently than ours. This is where you would add a wing finger if you want, before extending it backwards into one very long finger. So for instance, if your fellow is standing, okay, then you might have his wing coming down so that he can rest upon this thumb. Then you can also add in your membrane. My next step is going to be his body, which I'm going to do in a slightly half heart shape. I'm going to add in his other wing, since now I know where to begin it. I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, thumb, extend, add membrane here. Now that I know where my belly is, I can add my back pretty confidently. And so for my back, then I'm going to add in my membrane for the other side of the wing. If my wing is extended, then it's going to be a long stretch of membrane. If my membrane is, if my wing is folded like this, then my membrane might have wrinkles in it. And you might decide to even make it more wrinkly than that. Or have no wrinkles at all. It's definitely a stylistic choice. My next step are going to be his legs, which almost look more like ours than, say, a bird's, in the fact that they don't bend backwards. Their knees bend like ours do. Or you can just do a straight line. Depends on what you're most comfortable with. They may or may not have membrane stretched between their legs, so you can choose whether or not to include that. Then you can do your toes by doing 2 lines on either side of your foot and then connect them 1, 2, 3 with an M. Okay. Then of course, once you have your basic body, you can add anything else you feel like it might need. For instance, maybe it's going to be catching a fish midair. That is one big fish considering the size of these creatures. Maybe you want to add in clouds, which are going to be weird since there's a fish midair now. But that's the way the world goes around sometimes. Or maybe I can fix that by making that cloud a reflection in the sky. Sorry, in the water. Because then we can add our Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatlus. Pronunciation is hard, especially with dinosaurs. I trip over it all the time. Then, since no humans were around during the age of Pterosaurs, again, pronunciation, dinosaurs, they're hard for me. Then you can add any kind of coloration that you want. I personally like to base my colorations off of birds I already know, but you can get really, really vibrant and really, really colorful and just have fun with it as well. And that's how you create your very own flying reptile.